Well, on this Memorial Day, we bring you the Krug Show. We hope everybody's having a fantastic 3-day weekend. Sam Batesh is in the house. We always talk NFL, and we're going to do it again this morning. Join us right now. Let's go. Off and running, bright and early, 12 minutes after 9 on the West Coast. That means it's 12 minutes after noon back east. Go get your lunch. Morning in the West, lunchtime in the East. Welcome to the Krug Show, brought to you by Pig and a Pickle, the best barbecue in all of Northern California. Check them out. They're in Emeryville. They're in Corte Madera. They're open 7 days a week from 11 a.m. till 8 p.m. or until they run out. Pig and a Pickle, the best barbecue in all of Northern California. Thanks to Damon and Mary. Get some brisket chili. Tell them Krug sent you. We're also brought to you by our good friends today at Sharp Corners, Sports Cards and Collectibles. They're at 205 Cypress Avenue in Pacific Grove, California on the Monterey Peninsula. Anthony Catania is the owner there. 831-521-5264 if you need to get a hold of Anthony. And as you see above Sammy's head, the show today is sponsored by LearnKey Upskill Academy, and we're big fans of LearnKey. They're an online learning platform designed to get you job ready in 6 months or less. That's really it. And it doesn't matter what field you're interested in. It could be IT, it could be cybersecurity. They offer over 30 different certification programs to help you take that next step in your professional career. They've been in business for 37 years. They've worked with over 200,000 students, and they place about 100 students a month in well-paying jobs. So the link's in the description below. I'm all about helping our audience. If you between jobs, if you're, you're just not doing the job you want to do, or hey, you feel like I need to do a little bit more. I need to get a little bit more skilled so I can make a little bit more money. We're here for you. The link's in the description. Check it out. They've been in business for a long time. Jeff, the owner of the program, is fantastic. They've helped a lot of people for a lot of years. They started being a sponsor of our channel in spring training when we went to Scottsdale, and they've continued on. And we're big fans of LearnKey Upskill Academy. We're big fans of helping our audience, and thanks to all of them for checking out LearnKey. And as I said, the link's in the description below, and the links for all of our sponsors are in the description below. And if you want to help the show, shop the sponsors. It always does help. Sammy's here. It's a Monday. Even though it's a Monday, normally Sammy and I go at 11 on Monday. Damon and I go at 9. But today, Damon's out because of the kids. And I wasn't sure if I was going to stream or if we were going to the beach or what we were going to do. So we moved Sammy up till to 9. I will be streaming today at 11 with Ryan Hensley, who reached out just yesterday and said, hey, will you come on my channel on Monday to talk about the season ahead? So Ryan and I will stream at 11. Sammy and I streaming right now at 9. And we're fired up because we're going to talk NFL. Sammy, good to see you, man. I would say happy Memorial Day, but, Memorial Day is not really considered to be a happy day. But you know what? More than anything, thank you. I think more than anything, I just want to express gratitude to all the people out there. My dad was a JAG Corps attorney in the United States Army. That's how he met my mother. He was stationed at 5th Army headquarters in Chicago, and my mother happened to live in Chicago. And this is in the 50s, early 60s, I should say, early 60s. And my mother's next door neighbor was setting her up on a blind date with one of the JAG Corps attorneys, and my mom is 5'6", and so he came into the room, and he's like, all right, my next door neighbor, one of you is going to have to go out with my next door neighbor tonight, and one guy says, how tall is she? And this guy was like 5'4". And he's like, yeah, she's 5'6". He's like, oh, I can't go out with her. And my dad, who's 6'3", said, hey, I wouldn't mind going out with a tall woman. Tall, 5'6", hardly tall. And so that was the story. So my dad stepped in for another guy who thought he was too short to date my mom, who was 5'6". And my dad stepped in, said, I'll go on a date with her. And that's how they met. And they started dating and eventually moved to San Francisco and had their family. And I'm the third of 4 kids. So on this Memorial Day, I'd like to remember my dad and my mom, but of course my dad because of his service to our country. And just say, Dad, thank you for everything that you gave us. Thanks to your generation for everything that you handed us. We will do our best, and we are doing our best to pass that on to our own children and the next generation. But thank you for all the advantages. Thank you for all the wars that were fought so that we didn't have to fight in wars. Thanks to all the men who died, trying to preserve a life that we now call life. Anyway, I don't want to get too deep, but just want to say to everybody out there, whether you're serving our country now or have in the past, or if you've never served our country, happy Memorial Day. And I think there's always somebody out there that came before us, an aunt, an uncle, a mom, a dad, a brother, a sister, a family member, a friend, that on a day like today, we just want to say, hey, I remember you. Thank you. I appreciate you. And I think that's really all we can do. So, Sammy, on that note, I'll throw Memorial Day to you, but we're going to have a great hour here, more than that, maybe 90 minutes or so. We're going to talk some NFL today, and I'm really fired up. Sammy and I have been streaming for the last 2 or 3 weeks. We've been friends for 25 years, and we're going to talk a lot of NFL every Monday. And I'm fired up about it, and I've already enjoyed the first couple streams, and we got a great topic today as well.
Well, awesome. Well, Larry, first of all, amazing story about your dad stepping in. I never knew that one, actually, over the 25 years. I haven't heard that, so that's fantastic. What a benefit to today to getting to hear that story. And also, I'll say this, my grandfather on my mom's side, Huey, he also served our country, and my brother's middle name is Huey, and my brother's birthday is Veterans Day.
Wow.
So there's like this incredible synergy in my family through that as well. And so tip of the cap to Huey and of course, and my brother, Aaron Huey Batesh as well. So a special day for sure. I remember them on many days, and I remember Grandpa Huey all the time. So that was beautifully said, Larry. And so today, we didn't want to miss. We've had so much fun. Our Monday dates were too much to say that Memorial Day would not allow us to kind of hold hands and talk to everybody. And we wanted to do it again. And I'm always, you and I are both just constantly reading about the NFL. We can't get enough. And I saw a story. It was really about just sort of favorites in Vegas. It was really about favorites to win the most games is what I was reading about. And it was interesting. Right. And funny enough, what the story was choosing, like who would be your best bet. And the team that everyone thought was the greatest value to win the most games in the league this year was the Niners, of course, that because of the schedule, et cetera, which I know we'll talk about. But it got me thinking, what if we went through each division and looked at the odds? What if we went to Vegas and said, all right, what does Vegas think is going to happen in each division? And then what if we peeled off the favorite and said, now we got to choose from the teams that are not favored to win the division? What in this alternate universe could we see? Can we make a realistic path for another team in the division other than the favorite to win that division in 2025? And I thought it would just be a good exercise for us to go through, because each year in the NFL, every team has a chance. Off the draft, every team's excited, right? Giants fans right now are excited because of what happened in the draft, right? Falcons got 2 first-round draft picks. They're fired up. Every team finds that part of their brain that says, we could do it. And as we talked last week, there are at minimum 4 playoff teams from the season before that are out and 4 new ones in. So it happens every single season. And what will those surprises be? But I just thought the divisions themselves, could we see other teams winning these divisions? Because when the season ends, we automatically just want to slot everyone that won it the year before. And we just know that's not the case. So I thought it'd be fun to look at each division from that perspective.
Well, and the NFL is more than almost any other league. I mean, the top teams go to the bottom teams go to the top. Injuries are a huge factor. I did a video this weekend where I was kind of ripping on Cowherd and Chris Sims because they had this ridiculous conversation and about the Niners, and it was like they just wanted to basically rip the Niners, but they love John Lynch. And they love Kyle Shanahan. And Sims played college ball with Kyle Shanahan. So they want to rip the Niners. It's like, it's amazing to me, Sammy, how many people are out there that want to talk about the Niners because they're an iconic franchise that means clicks. But then they also want to rip the Niners while at the same time glad handing the GM and the head coach.
It's impossible to do that.
How do you rip a team and glad hand the head coach and the GM in this process of ripping? And try to draw these conclusions that the Niners are not going to be very good because of Brock Purdy. And then when it gets down to it, it's really a discussion that they've missed on too many picks. But we love John Lynch, so we're not going to rip John Lynch. And then it comes down to, well, at the end of the day, we can't really talk about Purdy at all because he's playing for Shanahan, and we all love Shanahan. It's like, well, if you've decided that Shanahan is Vince Lombardi, and you've decided that John Lynch is Ozzie Newsome and Eric DaCosta and every great GM rolled into one, then if the team's not good, yeah, you're going to need to blame somebody, that's for sure. And those guys were all over the map. But I brought it up just because, it is year to year in the NFL, there's variables. I mean, team tougher schedules and less rest and, all kinds of weird travel, and you can have the deck stacked heavily against you. So what division do you want to start with today?
Well, look, we don't want to jump right into the NFC West. And the NFC West, I'll show you when we get there, is really fascinating because of what Vegas thinks right now. And just, we grab these odds from Caesars. You'll see different odds elsewhere. If you shop around, you'll see different odds. But we went with Caesars today. So we'll tease the NFC West. We'll go through the NFC first. NFC West will be last. I figured, me as the Philly guy, why don't we start with the NFC East, because this would be the hardest one for me. So I wanted to get the hardest assignment out of the way first. Not taking the Eagles, coming off of what we all have in our minds is that 40-22 demolition of the Chiefs in the Super Bowl, and then everyone praising Howie Roseman at the draft and free agency and all of this. And it's hard sometimes to look at these divisions and not take the favorite. Of course, it would be hardest to take the Super Bowl champ right out immediately, but I thought we'll start there. And when you look at this, Eagles are pretty big favorites. I mean, we know the AFC East is going to be stacked heavily for the Bills as well, but the Eagles here, at minus 160, that swing to get all the way to Washington at plus 225, it's a pretty, or minus 160 for the Eagles. It's a pretty big swing here, but I thought, all right, here's the homework assignment for you and I. Can we see one of those three other teams with a realistic path to winning the division? And I also want to remind you and everyone else, Larry, last time this division had a winner back-to-back seasons was 2004. And yes, it was the Eagles, but we're talking about Donovan McNabb and Andy Reid. We're not talking about Jalen Hurts. The last time this division had a back-to-back winner wasn't Carson Wentz, wasn't Nick Foles. Jalen hasn't done it. It was Donovan McNabb. So it's been a while. And which of these teams behind them could come up and take a grab at the apple and win that division? I think there's an obvious one in our mind right now, but I know you're not necessarily that high on Jaden's second season. We all have that CJ Stroud resonance in our head of how the second season could not be as pretty as the first one. I'll go with my ridiculous statement if you want right out of the gate, Larry. I'm going to say the Cowboys. You and I spoke last week, and I had the Cowboys as a playoff team, and they're, everyone's simplest path to the playoff is winning the division. That's the guarantee. And so I could see the Cowboys, if we take a healthy Dak in this situation, this is a different team. Now we have to take a first-year head coach to win the division, which is going to be more difficult. But the Cowboys, more often than not, if health is on their side, are competing for this division down to the last 2 weeks of the regular season. And it all comes down to those divisional games. When you look at Jalen versus Dak and the games where both are healthy and neither have everything locked up, so they're not resting in the last week, these are incredibly competitive games. And I want to remind everyone that the Cowboys with Dak is 9-4 against the Eagles. So if they can split with the Eagles, there's a path. If the Cowboys can split with the Eagles, there is a path to winning this division. They beat Jaden Daniels and the Commanders last season, and that was without Dak. So this can be done. It's an amazing value, first of all. If you believe at all in this, I would say of everything we say today, I think plus 700 is going to be the best odds that either one of us have as a somewhat realistic path towards money. So if you take what I said about the history of this division, the idea that the Eagles are not just going to walk in there and win it again because it just for some reason doesn't happen in the NFC East, you're really looking at Washington or Dallas most likely. And I'm just going to say, if you get a little regression out of everyone understanding that Jaden he's the new kid in this league that is taking it by storm, and they're not going to surprise anyone this season, could the Cowboys, I know you don't love their running game, it's better than last season. I no matter what, it's got to be better than the 27th best rushing offense in football coming up this season. So I love their first round draft pick as well. I'm going to say Cowboys. Call me crazy right out of the gate. I said this was going to be shocking. You said it was going to be big surprises. There's a surprise. Cowboys win the NFC East in 2025. How do you see it, Larry?
No, I don't see Dallas. I don't see Dallas for lots of reasons. One, they just had a Hall of Fame offensive lineman retire.
Yeah, it's tough.
Their offensive line is really, really young. The left tackle is a second-year player. The center is a second-year player. The right guard is a rookie. The right tackle is just a free agent, Terrence Steele. They drafted a Johnny Cornelius, so it's a young offensive line. I don't like the professionalism of George Pickens, and this team, I think, needs more professionalism. I think that Dallas is still not going to be able to run the ball. Javonte Williams, Jaden Blue, Miles Sanders, that's not a good running back core. Javonte Williams is not the same player that he was. Blue is fast, but he's so what? I mean, he's got a lot of speed, but he's not a every down guy. Miles Sanders is old. Deuce Vaughn's tiny. So I don't like Dallas running the ball. Okay, so if you don't like them running the ball, and then I don't think they can stop the run. Mozzie Smith and Osa Odezigzu or whatever in the middle.
Yes.
Those guys last year had a PFF run defense grade of Mozzie's was 35.9, Osa's was 50.8. Those are two of the lowest run defender tackle grades in the entire league, and so they don't stop the run. DeMarvion Overshown is out with an injury. Trayvon Diggs is out with an injury. They sat out free agency for the most part. I mean, they added a couple nominal old guys who have names but no game anymore. Kenneth Murray, Dante Fowler, Solomon Thomas, Peyton Turner, Kier Elam. I mean, I don't love it. I liked a couple of their picks, Toya Ezaraku, Shavon Revel on defense, but that's not enough. And then on offense, if you can't, once again, if you can't run the ball and you can't stop the run, then, also they're one Dak Prescott injury away from losing every game.
I'm giving him healthy Dak. I'm giving him
yeah. But because
16 weeks of
Milton
Dak in this
probably
scenario.
is not going to win, and Greer's probably not going to win. So they don't really have like a second quarterback they can win with. That actually does kind of matter because you're going to maybe have to win a couple games. All these teams that when I'm thinking about over-unders, if they don't have a second quarterback they can win with, then it's really just a roll of the dice. So, I mean, I see where you're going, but to me, the main issue with Dallas is they haven't had a running back and they haven't had a running game. And now they're leaning on new backs, young line.
Well, the first round pick, look, they've got to get out of Booker. They got to get right. Booker was as much a plug and play in this draft as maybe anyone but Genty, right? I mean, everyone loved Booker. I just don't really
believe that rookie offensive linemen dominate. I think they may show it, they may give you indications of what's coming in the future, but usually that first year is not the most efficient year. And I just Dallas's two best defenders after Parsons, I think, are probably Overshown and Diggs, and they're both hurt. So, and I think Overshown got hurt late in the year. He was probably gone for a big chunk of the year. So I they're talking about trading Deron Bland. They weren't that active in free agency.
No,
I don't like Dallas. I'm going to go Washington. I like Washington.
We'll take a look. I'll click this slide ahead here to take a look at Washington here for you. Because I do look, I can see Washington also, but I want you to have this in your head also. Take a look. Washington's fascinating, and to take where they were last season and now really kind of add what's on this list. You're right. There could be something there, but I'll let you go with it. I'll let you sing Washington's praises.
I just think that Washington's added some significant pieces to the puzzle here. First of all, Debo's main issue is that he lacks motivation. Now they got a super motivated Debo. So you're getting a super motivated Debo, even though he's older, added to McLaurin, and you have Luke McCaffrey, you have Michael Gallup, who is a good Cowboy receiver. So I think receiver-wise, I like it. You added Laramie Tunsil at left tackle. And to me, that was a phenomenal. They added, Connerly from Oregon in the first round and Tunsil. So they spent their biggest money and their biggest draft capital and on upgrading the tackles. And I think Connerly is really good. Like, I think he's got potential to be great. And I think that Tunsil is great. So I love Washington's offensive line. And, Washington also added a pretty good couple running backs. They've got, Ja'Cory Krosky Merritt like him, Demetric Felton like him, Chris Rodriguez. I kind of like him. They also have Eckler. They have Brian Robinson, Jaden Daniels. They have, Marcus Mariota backing him up. They drafted Sam Hartman. So, you still have Ertz. They have Ben Sinnott. I love the Commanders. And then on defense, I didn't love what they did. They signed Javon Kinlaw, Eddie Goldman. Not great moves. But what I really thought, the real reason I love the Commanders is that the Commanders last year added like 20 free agents, and they had so many new faces. And I just think that when you add that many new faces, it takes a little bit of time. And you saw them start to peak towards the end of the year. And I just think that those, now with a year of continuity with all those veterans, I also felt like, Adam Peters was a major part of why the Niners were really great with the day 3 and undrafted players. And he goes to Washington, and I thought he had an amazing undrafted class. I mean, Robert McDaniel, the safety from Jackson State, love him. Fentrell Cypress, really good zone corner from Florida State. Carlin Vigors is a really good corner prospect from Louisiana Monroe. Ricky Barber from Central Florida is a good defensive lineman. They got a couple guys there as undrafted.
And by the way, not on
players.
this list. What you want to remember is Lattimore, who they got at the trade deadline, is worth putting on here, right? I mean, defensively, to have Lattimore there, I think is he's not on the list because it didn't happen this offseason, but you're essentially looking at less than half a season. He's there, so I just think it's worth considering that you'll now have
as well.
Right. You'll have an offseason with Lattimore now as part of your defense, knowing you've got that heading into the season. That's going to make a nice difference for them.
I mean, I really think they got 3 outstanding undrafted DBs. And then they also got a 4th because they drafted Trey Amos. And then you mentioned Lattimore. They also have Quan Martin, Mikey Sainristil, still, Noah Igbenogany. I mean, I just like Washington. I think Washington is not going to be one of these, up and down, up and down. I think it's going to be kind of a slow, steady climb. I like Washington to win this division this year, and I think Washington is going to establish themselves as the main competition for Philly for the next 5 years. So I think Washington gets it, and I like Philly a little bit more than I like Washington, but I do think you got to factor in.
Well, here, let's take a look. If you want, take a look at the Eagles' schedule.
In a city like
also.
Philadelphia that celebrates their team so much, it's like nobody had a bigger hangover from the last Super Bowl than the Eagles. And I just think that it's inevitable. They've got huge sports radio there. They've got huge, the people there care so much. They're in it. They're wallowing in it if it's bad. They're rollicking in it when it's good. And it's just, they're so into it. And I just think it can be a little bit exhausting, especially when you're you're being chased. You're the Super Bowl champion. I love the Eagles, and I really think that they've got a great shot to have another big year. And I loved what they did in the offseason. But I think the Commanders have a little bit better quarterback and a little bit better total team top to bottom when you factor in the fact that the Eagles will play the first place schedule. The Eagles probably have a tougher schedule, and they're going to have that hangover. So, the Super Bowl hangover, I really do believe in. Also, there's a lot of talk about Dallas Goedert, possibly being traded. Tyler Steen steps in at right guard. I don't think he's the same kind of player
as Becton,
as Mekhi Becton. And then just there's probably going to be some injuries this year, though I do love their I love their pickups on defense, but I still think Eagles have a great shot to win it. But I can understand projecting and that kind of thing, and I'll project the Commanders to win the division.
I like it. And just quickly, because we got it up here, looking at the Eagles, the schedule for 2025, we're going to know a lot. I said Cowboys are going to win the division in this bizarro world where we're taking the Eagles out of it. You say the Commanders. And look, week one, we're going to learn a lot, right? I mean, it's been 20 years, it's longer. It's been 25 years since the Eagles and Cowboys played in week one, and they're going to do it this season on that Thursday to open up with the banner hanging in Philadelphia. So we'll know. The Cowboys, at least we know this much. Looks like Dak's going to be there, right? We don't have to worry about this. Isn't going to be an Eagles-Cowboys game without Dak. It seems like Dak's projected here to be the starter to open the season. So there we go.
I mean, that's a huge game for Philly because if Philly loses that game, look at the next month. At Arrowhead, Rams at home, at Tampa in September.
They've lost their last two to Tampa. They've lost their last two to Tampa, just so you know.
And you don't want to play in Tampa or Miami, in Jacksonville. You don't want to play in Florida in September.
Without
you just
question.
don't want to be there. And then they get Denver, and a lot of people think Denver's an upcoming.
So, and then look at this. The other thing I want to look at for the Eagles schedule, and to your prediction about the Commanders, you and I talk about it. We don't love the separated by 1 week divisional matchups. And there you got, look at week 16, week 18 Commanders. Those
that's why I like the Commanders. I think the Commanders are going to sweep the head-to-head because I think they're going to be ready. I really think Philly is they're going to, like a lot of Super Bowl contenders, they're going to start fast. They're going to look great. And then adversity is going to hit. And I think by the time they get to December, because they don't play their first game. How about this? This is amazing. Their first game against the Commanders is December 20th.
Crazy. It's really ridiculous.
That's crazy. And then, of course, they play as well in week 18. But, I mean, December 20th is the first time you're seeing your division. You're probably your number one competitor.
Number one rival right now. Yeah, I mean, look, they were in the NFC Championship game against each other. And what they've sort of done this season, Larry, with the Eagles schedule, they sort of flip-flopped the philosophy behind what Cowboys-Eagles used to be and replaced it with Washington. Because the league used to save Cowboys-Eagles until very late. And obviously this year they flipped it and made the Cowboys game very early and then took the Commanders and made them the late matchup. So interesting. That's clearly what the league sees. Okay, so let's jump on. So I've got Cowboys, you got Commanders winning the NFC East in this world where we're taking the favorite out of it, and we can move on to another NFC division here, the NFC North, and this one's a little more evenly distributed according to the Vegas odds. And again, it's the exercise here is to take away the favorite, not necessarily. The favorite's not always last year's winner, but in most cases it is right now. But the Lions obviously had a ridiculous regular season. We know the playoffs weren't pretty, but the Lions had a really, really I'll say this much. The Lions, in losing David Montgomery late, what they were able to accomplish in this season, really, and all of the injuries on defense, I just thought that week 18 against Minnesota was so impressive. What the Lions did to solidify the 1 seed despite their injuries, I was incredibly impressed with last season. And Dan Campbell did a hell of a job to get them there for that. But if we take the Lions out of this, Larry, I'll go to you first. Who do you see as the division winner here for the NFC North?
Well, first, I always got to picture, how it's going to go for the champion. And I think the Lions have a brutal schedule. They start week 1 at Green Bay. Okay. Green Bay is one of the hardest places to win. Green Bay plays very well at home. Okay, so that's a really tough game. Then you get the Bears at home. That's a win. That should be a win. But then you go at Baltimore, another really, really tough place to win. I mean, I would almost put that down as a L because that's a hard place to win. Then you get Cleveland early in the year. Who knows what they can be? You never know. But their defensive line is pretty good. Then you go at Cincinnati, at Kansas City, and Tampa at home into the bye. Man, that's a rough schedule, man. That is a rough schedule. So you play, of your first 7 games, 4 of them are on the road. At Green Bay, at Baltimore, at Cincy, at Kansas City, you're probably playing 4 playoff teams on the road in the first 7 weeks of the year. the Lions could be dealt a serious blow.
So who do you like? So
they-
if the Lions are going to stumble, I mean, is this a clear path to Green Bay? I mean, is Minnesota able to do it without Darnold? Yeah.
It has to be Green Bay because Minnesota's going to backslide with J.J. McCarthy. There's no question in my mind. There's no way J.J. McCarthy, is going to step into that situation, even with a year in that organization. There's no way he's going to be able to play with the level of consistency. So I like the Vikings to not win the division. The Bears have no shot.
Are you
Absolutely
surprised?
no shot.
Wait, can we just look at these numbers? I want to say them out loud to everybody. So Lions are plus 140, Packers plus 280, Vikings are right. I mean, plus 360 is not a big separation from the Packers at plus 280, and I'm surprised the Bears it's only plus 440.
Well, I mean, a lot of people see the Bears. The Bears. If you're just looking at this from a basic timeline, they should be starting to get better, right? I mean, they have their quarterback. They've. I mean, look at this team. Your wide receivers are DJ Moore, Rome Odunze, Luther Burden. So, I mean, you now have a whole group of wide receivers. You got a rebuilt offensive line. Braxton Jones, Joe Thuney, Drew Dahlman, Jonah Jackson. You got 3 interior new players. You got 2 tackles you drafted that you like, and Darnell Wright and Braxton Jones. They also just drafted Ozzie Trapilo from BC. They also have Karan Amagaji from Yale. So, I mean, their offensive line, if it's not good, it's not for a lack of trying. They've changed it out. They've got a blue-chip tight end in Colston Loveland. They also have a second tight end in Cole Kmet, who's pretty damn good. You got Caleb, and supposedly
let's pause right there.
I don't think Caleb's their best quarterback.
I want to hear you on this because I'm ready to go down this path for you. I just don't know if I'm clouded by what Jaden Daniels did. See, I don't know if I have the wrong opinion about Caleb because I'm comparing him to Jaden Daniels or if I truly didn't see enough last season. And of course, their season unraveled after the head-to-head, right? After the Hail Mary, the Bears fell apart entirely. That team just crumbled and curled up like Levi when he's not feeling well in bed, right? The Bears, it was ugly after that game. But for you look at this pretty scientifically when it comes to quarterbacks and young quarterbacks. And I just want to know where you stand in regards to Caleb. Because for the Bears, which we could, again, we're playing fantasy today. So, we're playing fantasy land. Lions don't win the division. So the Bears, Vegas sees as not a ridiculous choice here. But Caleb would have to have an unreal season. Where do you stand on Caleb?
He stinks. I mean, he's the most.
I think people need to hear that.
He's the most overrated player in the league by far. I mean, this guy, and this happens all the time. USC has had so many quarterbacks. Rob Johnson was supposed to be great. Matt Barkley was supposed to be great. They're all supposed to be great. Matt Leinart was supposed to be great. The only guy that I can remember that was any good out of SC quarterbacks for the most part, Mark Sanchez was supposed to be great. It was probably Carson Palmer, and even he was kind of a stiff.
Well, Palmer's probably got the most stats, and Sanchez, of course, you can hang your hat on back-to-back AFC championship games for the Jets, so that's not bad.
Which just shows an aberration more than anything. I just think that Caleb holds the ball way, way, way too long. And that's why he took all those sacks last year. How many sacks did he have? He was sacked a ton last year. Had to be the most.
I think didn't Caleb lead the league? I think the Bears led the league
in sacks allowed. 70-something sacks.
Yeah. It was a historic season in the wrong way for sacks.
68 sacks.
Yeah,
68 sacks.
That's gross. Yeah.
Now, he did have 20 touchdowns and only 6 picks, so that's not bad. 62% completion percentage. That's hardly bad. But he just holds the ball too long. He doesn't see it. He doesn't throw with anticipation. He holds the ball too long. And also, but that's not what I dislike about him. I just don't like his up and down nature. He's not. Jaden Daniels is the same everyday, calm, cool, slow mouth breather, very calm, can't rattle him. This guy, he holds the ball, and he's just emotional. And I just think that he rides some ups and some downs. And do I want to be here? Do I not want to be here? And all this stuff. It just, and I don't love Chicago's history as far as quarterbacks and
Did you
putting
hear
them
the
in
rumor that
good.
that Caleb was actually trying before the draft to not be drafted by Chicago?
Yeah, I
There
mean,
was a story that came
there's
out
a
that he was considering the Eli Manning route, where he was going to just snub Chicago and say I won't go there, which is wild to me. I anytime a player who's not in this league tells one of the 32 franchises you're not good enough for me, I chuckle. And I mean, the
it
Bears
doesn't
haven't done it
work.
at quarterback, but that's ridiculous.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't work. I mean, you better know you have all the cards. Otherwise, Shador Sanders, they
Yeah,
don't do that. Don't tell people. But I'm not even 100% sure that he's even the best quarterback on this team. I like Tyson Badgett. I like Austin Reed. They've Case Keenum there now as well. So I just, I think what if you said to me make a bold prediction, I'll make a bold prediction. Caleb gets hurt, one of the other quarterbacks steps in and plays well, and then they go back to Caleb. Caleb doesn't play well, and then now the Bears have a massive quarterback controversy on their hands.
wow, I love that.
Caleb or Tyson Badgett, Caleb or Austin Reed, Caleb, I just think that's how I think it's going to go. I think Caleb's going to get hurt. One of the other quarterbacks is going to come in. The Bears are going to start winning games. There'll be all kinds of debate in Chicago. Is it the improved roster or is it the quarterback play? They'll go back to Caleb because he was the first pick. He'll struggle, and then they'll have a full-blown quarterback controversy that will engulf the franchise for the next 2 or 3 years. That would be my
Disaster.
guess.
Okay,
That's my
I like it.
prediction on the Bears.
Look,
As
that's bold.
far
And
as
you said Packers are going to win it. I'm gonna say that
Packers,
quick.
I'm going
Yeah.
Packers, but I don't feel good about Packers either, to be honest, because I think the Packers have bad vibes going on. Like if
Yeah, I believe in LaFleur,
I
and you think there's something. I really believe in LaFleur, and
I
you
don't
think
think
there's
Jordan
something kind of
Love
brewing there.
I don't think Jordan Love and LaFleur get along, and then also I think their situation at wide receiver is really bad. They just paid Matthew Golden way more money than they've paid Jalen Reed, and Jaden Reed, and Jaden Reed's their number one receiver. So it's like you're paying this rookie all this money. It's all guaranteed, by the way. And Jaden Reed is already bitching and complaining. There's talk about them shopping Romeo Dobbs. They also have Savion Williams, Dontavion Wicks, Christian Watson, McCole Hardman, Bull Melton. I just think they have. I know
Well,
what they wanted.
don't blow past Watson either, because how's he going to be off the injury? We don't even know.
Yeah, he's hurt. He's hurt. He's out. So he's questionable right now. But I mean, and Hardman's also got an injury. But my thing is just that I think that it's a great organization, and they've done a good job at stocking. Gutekunst is a good GM. He's done a nice job stocking the roster. So it's one of the more talented rosters. I just think that there's bad vibes between Love and the coach. I think there's bad vibes in that wide receiver room. Competition's a good thing, but you got to have a pecking order. And like right now, their production pecking order has Jaden Reed at the top, and then Romeo Dobbs, and then their money pecking order has Matthew Golden at the top, and those guys are far beneath. So I think it's already seemingly a problem. They're also only really one deep at running back. I mean, if they lose Josh Jacobs,
Yeah.
are they going to be able to run the ball with Marshawn Lloyd and Emmanuel Wilson? I mean, I like Marshawn Lloyd, but he ain't Josh Jacobs. And to me, you need more depth at running back than they have. So Jacobs is their weakness. If he goes out, that's a problem. I think defensively they're an interesting team, because I think that they probably could be a team. Somebody said, hey, maybe they'll trade for Trey Hendrickson.
Oh, wow.
I think the Niners ought to trade for Trey Hendrickson, to be completely honest. But
Yeah.
if the Packers did get Trey Hendrickson, that would change things, and I think there's a chance they will. They did add, they have Nate Hobbs, they have Xavier McKinney. Are they going to trade Jair Alexander? I mean, what's going
That's
on
probably
there?
gonna happen. That has not been a pretty situation. All right, so you're gonna say Packers.
So
I'm gonna say
there's a lot of moving parts there, but give me Green Bay overall to keep it together and be there at the end.
okay, and I'm gonna say Green Bay. I am least passionate about this for a couple of reasons. Number one, it's a little too obvious, and number two, the tush push. They lost the tush push vote. They're getting the tush push curse this season. I'm sorry. They are the face of trying to ban the tush push. And as an Eagles faithful here, I'm going to say, forget it, Packers. There's going to be some strike against you this season at some point for that. And
well, it's funny you said that, Sammy, because did you hear what happened in that room?
Oh yeah, it was pretty epic. The Laurie conversation, the Kelsey thing.
Supposedly Jed York.
I love what Jed said.
Said to Jeffrey Lurie, "Are you
we done yet?
Are we done talking about all this shit?" Because he had talked for an hour about the tush push, and there were a lot of people that said that it was very tense in the room.
Yeah, it was, and look, the vote. I mean, 22 votes in favor of banning the tush push is pretty damn close to the 24 you need to get it done. So this came down to the wire. A lot of people say that maybe the Kelsey thing did play a factor. The bringing Kelsey in, showing the video, the fact that it wasn't necessarily a health risk for anybody. Kelsey dispelled the rumor that he retired because of the tush push and not wanting to run it anymore. So, and Laurie was passionate.
I don't know if they brought this into the equation, but my biggest argument would be like, my guess is if you took all of the tush pushes that there has been, that there is a big disparity in the play length. And that, I think, is a really difficult thing for the officials to officiate. And to me, the longer that play goes on, the more advantage it is for the offense. And so I think some of those tush pushes have gone on for 5 or 6 seconds.
Yeah.
And to me, if you're going to let a play go on for 5 or 6 seconds, you're going to have multiple surges, and to me, that's not football.
So you're talking about you'd like to see forward progress blown dead quicker.
I'm just saying you can't have a play like that and give them multiple shots at the play. That's really what it is. It's like think about it this way: the Russell Wilson interception against the Patriots in the Super Bowl. That was 3-step drop, ball came out, boom, there it is.
Malcolm Butler, yeah.
This play is snap the ball, push forward, keep your quarterback upright, wait for the defense to stop him, then push forward again.
There's usually a fold, Larry. There's usually what happens is there's usually on one of the sides of the center, and usually left, I believe, over Landon Dickerson, there becomes a crease. And he kind of slips into that. There almost becomes like a little pocket. Yeah.
But like a lot of times it's the second push and the third push. And that's just not, and I just am against that. I mean, I to me, it's not hugely different than if you let people run up the back of a defensive lineman and hurl themselves into the air to block a field goal. You're using another person. And to me, I just don't think that's. Everybody should exist on their own power. They shouldn't exist. I shouldn't be able at, whatever size I am, to have the most power because there's some gigantic guy pushing me from behind, like I'm literally a object. So
my guess is, and we can move on to another division here really soon. I just want to make this one last point. My guess is this season the Eagles know this will be the last year they can run it this way. And I bet Jeff Stoutland, their offensive line coach, and Sirianni are already putting together a way in which this play works without being pushed from behind. Because I think somewhere within their offensive line is actually the key here. I think they're creating that crease that you and I talked about without a full surge from behind. I think they can still create that place for Jalen to fall into without having the push of Goddard or A.J. Brown or Saquon or Gainwell as it was last season. I think they can make it happen. So that's it. We'll see. But for me, Packers, sure, I'll give them the nod if we're taking the Lions out of this to win the division, but I don't love it. And I think the Packers are going to get, struck with something due to being the face of that tush push ban. So there you go. And the Vikings, I'm with you. We already took the Vikings out of the playoffs for what we did last week, so I don't want to go back on my word there. And I'd say if not for the Packers, I'm more interested in the Bears' path to winning the division. And I love what you said about Caleb. But that's it. I think we can move. NFC North is interesting. We took the Lions out of it. We kind of see the Packers as being that possibility there. And then the South is this one already. We were really talking a lot about last week because we were talking about potential teams.
Who's the favorite here? We got
the technically the Bucks. Technically Bucks at -105, but not a huge swing to see the Falcons there at +230. Man, the Saints, they just took out of the. I mean, the Saints, they've just buried after Derek Carr retires at plus 1,300. But the Panthers are not so far behind at plus 400. I mean, we're talking about the Bears at plus 440. So Bucks at minus 105, clear favorite. Then Falcons, and then Panthers. If we take the Bucks out of this equation, NFC South, who can win it? I know you're bullish on Atlanta. I'll let you talk about them here. I know you really like Atlanta, and go for it. I mean, Penix is, with the full season, Penix knowing he's the starter coming in, I'm sure that's going to make a difference.
Yeah, I mean, I think Atlanta, it's mostly a Penix thing.
Sure.
I mean, I'm a believer in Michael Penix. I really believe that he is a great talent, and I also think they're going to be able to trade Kirk Cousins. So I don't think Cousins will be there. He got a great tandem at running back in Bijan Robinson and Tyler Algier. And
now that you brought up Bijan, I want to say one thing. There's two guys for them to win the division. I really think there's two offensive players that have to finally be who we think they're going to be, right? I mean, Kyle Pitts, we've been waiting for how long, right? Is Pitts ever going to be this special difference maker the way he was going to be at tight end? And then Bijan, everyone, from a fantasy football standpoint, everyone was so excited about Bijan when he was drafted. And I don't know that he's quite at that level. I just really think this could be, I think those two players need to be that special for Penix if this offense is going to win that division and be better than Tampa.
Well, I'll say this, everything starts up front. And I think this is one of the better lines. I mean, Jake Matthews, Bergeron, Lindstrom, McGarry. I don't know about the center, but the rest of those guys are good. So they lose Drew Dahlman. That's going to hurt them. But the rest of that line, I like their line. I don't know about Pitts. I'm not sure about Pitts if he's going to come into his own or if he's going to still have injuries. But I love their ability to run the ball, and I love Penix. He's got a great arm. He's got some really good receivers. I mean, Darnell Mooney, Drake London, I think those are pretty good receivers right there. And I think they got a steal in Nick Nash. I think Nash is going to make an impact for them. So I like the Falcons, but I think their real improvements coming on the defensive side of the ball. I mean, I think they're a team that defensively I like. I mean, Onyemata and Rook Ororo in the middle. Ororo is who I wanted the Niners to get a couple years ago. They added Leonard Floyd, but they already have James. They drafted James Pierce. They have D'Angelo Malone. They drafted Simeon Barrow. They have Zach Harrison.
Well, and remind everyone
a couple years ago.
Remind everyone the draft, Larry. Remind everyone.
Jalen Walker.
It was 2 first-round picks they got this year's draft. I mean, they made the trade and got into the first round twice. That could be and at the same position essentially. I mean, this is an entirely different defense if those two work out.
Well, and also I think you've got some really good DBs here. I mean, A.J. Terrell, Jesse Bates, Xavier Watts, Mike Hughes, Billy Bowman. That's some good receivers. There's some good corners there. Clark Phillips, Keith Taylor, Kobe Bryant after the draft. I liked what they did. So I like Atlanta. I think Atlanta's going to be able to dial. First of all, Atlanta has not had any outside rush. And now in 1 year, they add, 1 year after they added Zach Harrison and D'Angelo Malone and those guys, now here comes James Pierce and Jalen Walker.
Wow.
And Leonard Floyd to kind of, give them that veteran. I like Atlanta's defensive front. I like their secondary. I think they've got some real ball skills guys. I mean, they've got some of the best productive interceptors. Xavier Watts is an interception waiting to happen. Billy Bowman's a really good defensive back. They have Jesse Bates. So I like them. I like Atlanta. I think Atlanta's going to win this division.
So that's interesting, and we can look at it for a second. I mean, for Atlanta to win, I know you like their schedule. A couple of things here. Can Atlanta compete with the Bills? And they don't obviously need to win every game on this schedule, but games against the Rams and Bills and the Niners, for that matter, are going to matter tremendously.
I think that first week is going to set the tone. I think that
they
get the Bucs at home in week 1.
They swept Tampa last season. Remember, that was crucial. This team swept Tampa, including the 500-yard overtime game from Kirk Cousins, which happened last season. But this team found a way against what should be their most direct path to the division, which would be through the Buccaneers. So that could very well happen. So you love the Falcons. I just want to take a quick look at it.
They have a momentum thing here from Week 8 on. I mean,
yes.
Think about this. Week 8, they get Dolphins at Patriots, Colts in Germany, Panthers, Saints, Jets.
Wow. Yeah, it looks beautiful right now.
That's a big chunk where they're going to get on a roll. And if they can get off to a decent start, and maybe split with the Niners and Bills on those in week 6 and 7, I think the Falcons are going to be there because that schedule. I mean, does it get easier than Dolphins, Patriots, Colts, Panthers, Saints,
That's nice.
Jets?
That's cushy.
That's
This is not
That's 6 games in a row of cake.
And this is not a last place team. Remember, this team finished second in the division, not last. So that's a pretty nice schedule there. And just for fun, I mean, look, I think we both agree. Falcons. I would say that as well. I see the Falcons. They were knocking on the door last season. The only fun one I want to look just for a moment is, is there a way we could talk ourselves into the Panthers being competitive enough to win this division? Who knows? Maybe it's one of those seasons where the winner of this division has a losing record. Could you win this division at 8-9 and certainly 9-8? And is there a way, could you find 9 wins for the Panthers here? I'm not sure they're there right now jumping out to me, but a lot of people liked what Carolina did to finish the season. Bryce Young sort of getting put in his place. We got Andy Dalton here instead of you. And Bryce, you're not quite the future of this franchise. He obviously went to bed a couple of nights thinking, wow, am I completely just a bust in this league? And he obviously completely put his brain in a place where he could understand this offense in a different way. And they were a different team over the back half of the season. They played incredibly well against the Chiefs and nearly beat Kansas City. I mean, they really were toe to toe with Tampa. I mean, this team certainly showed spark when they needed to. I'm just not sure. They must be the Eagles, in fact, as well. I'm not sure there's enough there, but I mean, when you look at the schedule, is there a path?
I mean, there is because they've got Andy Dalton, so they also can win games with their number 2 quarterback. That's nice. But, and I like some of their offensive line moves. I mean, Ekwonu, the left tackle, is one of the best in football for sure.
How'd you like Tate as their first-round pick?
Well,
wide receiver,
I think he's really young. I mean, I think he's really immature. I think he's really talented. But I think he'll help Bryce Young for sure. But I don't love their backs. I mean, Chuba Hubbard, Rico Dowdell comes in from Dallas. They got Trevor Etienne in the draft. He's not bad. I think I could see them getting better, but I just think they're really young. I mean, you got to remember this: the guys who handle the football, Bryce Young, Chuba Hubbard, T Mac, Xavier Legette. I mean, these are very young players. I mean, you have Thielen, but he might be a little too old. So they strike me as they have some talent on their roster, but they're a little too old and a little too young. I don't love their defensive line. They have 3 new starters on their defensive line. So I don't know. I think Panthers are developmental.
All right, so that's not going to happen. We'll take one look at it again to see what So both of us kind of see the Falcons here. If you're taking the Bucks out of it, we could see the Falcons plus 230. You win some nice money there if you get the Falcons, and we can move on now to the division that I think both you and I have been sort of salivating about. And I want to show everybody this because it's pretty interesting. So normally to this point, every division has had a clear favorite in Vegas. Now these are the Caesars odds. You can find slightly different odds elsewhere, but right now, looking at the NFC West, the Niners and the Rams are both on top at plus 155. Then a pretty big drop. Both the Cardinals and Seahawks are at plus 575. So for purposes of this practice and exercise right now, Larry, let's say we can choose anybody on the board. There's not really a favorite. The Rams obviously won it last season. This is simply a conversation for you and I to work out. Where do we see the margin here? Niners or Rams are most likely going to win this division. Vegas sees it as a dead heat at the moment. Is this the Niners' division to win? And I'm sure the schedule is going to play a major part because we've said it so many times. The Niners have the best schedule. Or are the Rams going to be that team. Did you hear what the Rams said this week, by the way, Larry? The
No.
Rams, I can't remember who said it. The Rams, someone on the Rams was on a show and said, we could be, from an offensive standpoint, the greatest show on turf. We could be that good offensively. With Stafford, with Devontae Adams, with Kyron coming back, with Puka, this could be the greatest show on turf offensively. I mean, I think that's a lot on Stafford. I don't know that Stafford's at that level still, but the Devontae thing is certainly interesting enough to put the Rams, back where they were last season. But I'll go to you first. I have a lot of thoughts on this. I've dissected the schedules to really look at this, but where do you see it, man? I mean, the Niners, like you said, you got people all over the place kind of shitting on some part of the Niners because they just gave Brock this massive contract. But do we like the Niners? Are we ready to say? And I told you, this whole conversation today was predicated on a story that came out that had the odds for which team will finish with the most wins in the NFL. The Niners, I believe, came in as fourth on that list, but everyone that was writing the article said the best deal and the best value would be taking the Niners to win the most games in the league, which, of course, if they did, they would win this division. But how do you see it?
Well, it's interesting because the Rams do have, great top level talent. If they pass the name test, right? Devontae Adams is a name. Matthew Stafford is a name. People, Tyler Higbee. We know these guys, but Devontae is 32. Higbee's 32. Stafford is, how old is Stafford? Stafford's probably 33, 37.
Let's give you Stafford 37. Right now.
Stafford's 37. So you got Stafford at 37. He's backed up by Jimmy Garoppolo. I do like their three-headed back with Kyron, Corum, and Jarquez.
They loved they loved the running back they drafted. They had him circled. Apparently that was the one that Les Snead had circled. Yeah, they had him circled. Oh, although remember, I will remind everyone in regards to Stafford, everyone's going to go on the name value, but can we remember two things? First of all, in the offseason, what did they tell Matthew Stafford? Check out what you can get somewhere else. They told Stafford to go shop around and see if he could get more money, and if another team would take him. And then they came back and re-signed him, and he re-upped. So if they're so in love with what Stafford did last season, you never let him have that conversation, but the Rams did. And number two, remember the Giants leapfrogged the Rams remember, the Rams didn't make a first-round selection. It's not because they didn't have a first-round pick. The Giants leapt the Rams and chose Jackson Dart. The Rams were trying to select Jackson Dart with that first-round pick. When they realized that wasn't going to happen, then they traded back with Atlanta and got out of it. So they did want Dart. So again, I'm not telling you out there in the world, if you're a fan, not to be in love with Stafford, but the organization was at least ready to have conversations about a different quarterback. That is for sure.
Yeah, and I'm not totally sold on their line, to be completely honest. I mean, I know they think they like Steve Avila. They brought in Coleman Shelton to play center, but Havenstein and Alaric Jackson, I think, are just average players. I don't know. To me they're a little old. They're a little old. You're asking Higbee, Devontae, and Stafford to really, to stay healthy, and those are key elements. So there's some age. There's some age there. I love the addition of Poona Ford. I thought that was one of the best pickups of anybody in the offseason, getting Poona out of the Chargers, and he's just such a force inside. So they're going to be better against the run. I think their defensive line, I think their defense is going to be good.
Well, remember, two defensive rookie of the year candidates for the Rams. Two. I mean, the last draft went very well.
Yeah. They didn't get tons in this draft out of their defense or this offseason. I mean, you added Chris Paul and you added Josiah Stewart and Ty Hamilton, and then Poona Ford in free agency. So it's not an awesome, not a lot of big time guys undrafted on the defensive side. So I don't know. I mean, I think the Rams could be really good if Stafford plays at a really high level, and Devontae steps in and plays at a really high level, but I'm projecting their line to get Stafford hurt and for Devontae to not be the Devontae of old. I will say this though: there's a couple sleepers on the Rams. They drafted this kid or they signed this kid after the draft from Tulane, wide receiver named Mario Williams, who started at USC, and he's a really good player. And he's a 5'9" slot receiver, but he's a home run hitter. So that's a great one. That's a great pickup. And they got Willie Lampkin, my guy from North Carolina, and I think he's going to make the team. So, and Anthony Torres I had on my show a month before the draft, the tight end from Toledo. I think he could potentially give Parkinson a run for his money. But yeah, no, I like the reason I like the Niners over the Rams is the schedule. Look at the first 6 weeks for the Rams. They play Houston in week 1, then they go on the road to Tennessee. That's tons of humidity. Then they play Philly in Philly. Then they've got the Colts. Then they've got the Niners. Then they're at Baltimore. To me, that 6-game stretch to start the year is a backbreaker, especially if you wind up losing any of the games you're supposed to win. If you wind up losing at Tennessee or losing to the Colts at home, the Rams could get ambushed. The Rams could get ambushed. Like, if you told me that Houston beat the Rams in L.A. week 1, I wouldn't be like, what? No way. I think that can happen. And then the fact that they have to play the Eagles, the Niners, and the Ravens with 2 of the 3 coming on the road, and the Niner one's the home game, and you know that's going to be packed with Niner fans. So, I mean, I think if the Colts and Texans and Titans give, you know, if those teams give them a little bit more of a challenge early on, I think the Rams could potentially get to their bye week in just a world of hurt, because they have 7 games before the bye week, and they have a week 8 bye, and I would not be surprised if they were 2-6 at the bye. Because I mean, I could see them losing to Houston, Philly, Niners, Ravens, and one more. So I mean, they might go 2-5 in the first 7.
That's wild, but I want to look at the schedule, and I always do this because it's an education for the audience as much as it is for you and me, Larry. So the Rams schedule and the difference between the Rams schedule and the Niners schedule comes down to 3 games. And right now they look like 3 losses on the Rams schedule, because those games I want to point out are week 3. That Eagles game for the Rams is a Giants game for the Niners. Okay? So that's the difference between finishing in last place and finishing in first place in your division the year prior. So the Rams have to face the Eagles, where the Niners get to face the Giants. Now go to week 6. The Rams have the Ravens, which means the Niners have the Browns. So that's another huge swing on the schedule that is massively in favor of the Niners. And then go to week 15. This Lions game for the Rams is a Bears game for the Niners. Those 3 games are beautiful and huge swings and just massively in favor of the Niners. And you and I have just been talking too much about what the Niners did in the offseason. We love the Brock contract. We love the schedule. It's the Niners division to win. I see it as the Niners division to win, and it's going to take a lot to walk me back from that. I thought the Rams overreached and overachieved last season. Look, what they did, considering the wildfires in LA, it was an amazing story. And yes, they were close against the Eagles, but I went back and watched what happened at the end of that Eagles game. I like to relive these amazing moments that happened for this particular Eagles season. And I went back and just watched that divisional game. And the end of it, yes, the Rams are there. Now remember, Saquon ran 4 60-plus yard touchdowns against the Rams last season. 4 60-yard touchdowns against the Rams. And he ran for another 2 in that divisional game, and it looked like it was over. And yes, Stafford brought him back. But at the end of that game, 3rd and 4th down, Jalen Carter blows up the Rams' intentions there to get into the end zone to win that game against the Eagles. And you said it. The offensive line of the Rams could really come down to it. They were very good for most of that game, but at the end of that game, it was really, really two back-to-back plays, the most important plays of their season, where the offensive line made huge mistakes, and Jalen Carter had basically a free run at Stafford on 3rd down and on 4th down, and their season ended right there. So that could play a factor. And
I mean, who's the best lineman on their line? Probably Steve Avila, and he's the left guard.
Right.
My point is that people crap on the Niner line left and right, and they've got the best left tackle in the game in Trent Williams, and they've got Dom Pooney, who was the best rookie offensive lineman in the league last year. So they got 2/5 of their line are really, really good players. People never crap on the Rams line.
Right.
I mean, it's just like it's like universally like unspoken, and yet Alaric Jackson, Steve Avila, Coleman Shelton, Kevin Dotson, Rob Havenstein. I think Dotson and Avila are not bad. The rest of those guys are totally replacement level. I don't think any of those guys are any good.
And take both lines. Why don't you go ahead and give both lines a C+, even if you want to? Which quarterback is more equipped to get away and make a play? Brock Purdy or Matthew Stafford? Clearly, Purdy is the escape guy in that. Much better at this point in his career than Stafford.
Well, the other factor that didn't play a factor at all last year for the Rams is the Rams have a really good defensive line. Their number ones, Braden Fisk, Byron Young, Agent Zero, Kobe Turner. Now they added Poona Ford. They don't have their backup line is garbage. But they didn't play their backup line hardly at all last year because their starters stayed remarkably healthy all year long. Their backups, Josiah Stewart's not bad from Michigan. Ty Hamilton comes in from Ohio State. But Tyler Davis, Dawan Johnson, I like Dawan at Toledo, Laurel Murchison, Bill Norton, Jack Heflin, Keir Thomas, Dejon Terry. I mean, this is the witness protection program of defensive linemen. So I will say I'll project them to have and it's not just their defensive line. Their whole defense is like this. The starter, Cam Curl, Cam Kinchens, good players. Their backups, Jalen McCullough, Tanner Ingle. I mean, if they have any injuries, the drop off is dramatic across the board on defense, and they were healthy last year. I think this year they'll have a few more injuries. Stafford will probably have some injuries. I like the Niners to win the division. And
by the way, two guys that you've talked about that we have talked about defensively that could play a factor, and it could be an arms race between these two teams. You mentioned Trey Hendrickson. If the Niners or the Rams get that's a massive swing. And another guy,
I'm going to do a video on that later today.
Okay, great.
That I really believe that the 49ers, who have like $42 million of available cap room, and I understand they're trying to save money and this and that, but and they spent too much money on Javon Hargrave, and it wound up biting him in the ass.
Yeah, that was a disaster. Former Eagle, yeah.
But Trey Hendrickson, to me, Mikael Williams is worlds better as a draft choice if you draft if you can sign Trey Hendrickson or trade for Trey Hendrickson. Why? Because Mikael can play inside. Mikael can play in a number of different spots. If you have Hendrickson, now you can play Mikael as an interior rusher and use him, in a rotation off the edge. I think Trey Hendrickson could be the final piece to the puzzle for the 49ers if they want to get over the top.
That's beautiful. And they could do that. And of course, the Rams could step in. Snead is aggressive as well. And if he sees that happening, these teams are going to try to block each other. And it's not like Hendrickson wouldn't help the Rams tremendously there as well.
Don't forget Green Bay, too. A lot of people think he might be going to Green Bay.
And because of what happened, because of what's in our mind recently, and I have a good friend, Steve Zabin, who talks about the error of recency, that's what sticks in our mind, and we all chase what's happening immediately. But because of the defensive line of the Eagles, what they did to Mahomes, I think every team now is going to be overly aggressive this season. You saw it in the draft already. You saw in the first round of the draft even just how defensive line came up, right? Teams are clearly addressing that position because they realize, okay, even Mahomes was completely a different guy in that Super Bowl, and if we can get after the quarterback, that can be the ultimate difference maker in this league. Hendrickson now is going to create that fervor for teams, thinking that's the missing piece. So you're right. But one other guy I wanted to talk about defensively is, and maybe a homecoming with the Rams could be in play, but Jalen Ramsey is another guy out there that the Dolphins are not convinced that he's in their plans for 2025. And if Ramsey lands on one of these two teams, that could be, for one season, that could be a major difference. You're not going to build your defense around Jalen Ramsey moving forward, but for one season, Ramsey could be tremendous, and he's already got a nice history with the Rams. So who knows what could happen there with Ramsey.
Well, and don't forget, who coached Ramsey with Jacksonville early on, Gus Bradley. Where's Gus Bradley? Gus Bradley's with the Niners. So, yeah,
Boom.
absolutely. That's somebody to watch for. Let's hit a couple supers. We got this one before we jump
Yes.
to the AFC.
Oh,
We're going to have to
look
go
at that.
speed
Wow.
round through the AFC.
Yeah,
Travis
we are.
Stewart. Wake up is better with Sammy.
Oh,
Love
wow.
this guy.
We'll have to. You know what? We
Don't-
love Damon.
Don't
Yeah.
tell Damon that.
We're
Oh,
not going
my
to tell
God.
Damon that at all. And I love Damon. Wake Up is amazing. Wake Up's amazing with Damon. And I want to say one thing though for Wake Up. I want to give everyone in this chat, everyone credit for Wake Up. Remember, what happened to Damon in Japan, Larry, is so unbelievable, right? The fact that Damon is at a random sake or sushi bar, he's in Japan, and somebody turns around. It's not like Damon's out there saying, yeah, reservation under Damon. No. Some dude just turns around and spots Damon and says, I love you on Wake Up with Larry. I mean, I'm sorry. That is such a credit to what you've built here, what you and Damon have. I'm happy to be a small piece of it. I will step in and come in from the on deck circle for Damon anytime. But I love what you two have created here. I really do.
Well, and then, it didn't take too much convincing when Sammy's like, hey, man, I'm starting my channel and I want to stream. I'm like, we're doing it. We're doing a regular deal. And we got over 1,000. We got over 1,100 people in the room right now. So thank you to all of them for jumping in on the Krug Show meets the Sam Batesh experience. Sammy, why don't you promote your channel right here, too?
Yeah,
Tell people.
thank you. Thank you so much.
Who don't know that Sam's got a channel with Andrew Siciliano. And
Yes.
if you know that name, Andrew Siciliano, of course, worked for the NFL Network. He's now the voice of the Cleveland Browns and a phenomenal sports radio guest for years and years, based in Southern California, probably for the last decade or so.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Tell people if they want to
Yes.
check out your stream and your show with him, where they can go to like and subscribe.
Well, thank you so much, Larry. I appreciate it. I threw it in the chat as well, and you could see me
Awesome.
there, the little icon. But at Thinking Out Loud, Siciliano and Sam. So if you type that into YouTube, Thinking Out Loud, Siciliano and Sam, you'll find us there. That's where all the episodes of our podcast are. You can also find the podcast on Apple Pod and Spotify, Thinking Out Loud with Siciliano and Sam. And the page has a ton of Andrew and I on it. It's got also me and you, Larry. It's got some of me and Damon as well. But at Thinking Out Loud, Siciliano and Sam and Andrew, yes, NFL Network, Larry, but remind everyone truly, their Sundays are forever changed because of what Andrew did to revolutionize Red Zone. And now we see it as, Hanson. For those that don't know, then have Hanson now. Siciliano started that. And he started with, Larry, that was Eric Shanks at Fox. And Andrew put that together. I remember him telling me that they had this wild idea that, and this now is what, this is nearly 20 years ago. He tells me, yeah, we're going in the studio today. It's something they're doing with either soccer or cricket somewhere else. And David Hill at Fox, the brilliant mind there, he thought, why don't you guys take a crack at this sort of red zone concept in the NFL and we'll take you around to different games. Andrew told me the concept that day on his way to the studio. And he just said, yeah, we're going to try it. I have no idea. And look what it became.
Oh.
Think about your Sundays without Red Zone. I mean, how many people in the chat
People don't even. I
know that.
record Red Zone. I record the Red Zone, and then I'll watch it on like a Wednesday night or something.
There's no question. I mean, when you talk about just great discoveries in the world, and certainly in the world of sports, Red Zone is one of those discoveries, one of those incredible experiments that turned out so well that we'll never look at the NFL the same because of what it does to the regular season. That's great.
I think you could cancel games before you could cancel the Red Zone.
Agree.
You could take the Fox national game off the air, and there would be far less hue and cry than if you took off the Red Zone. Because everybody wants the Red Zone. Everybody wants to watch, especially in the era of fantasy. We got a couple other ones here. MSQ says, imagine this Rams team right now if you had Aaron Donald.
Wow.
Thoughts? I saw Aaron Donald said the other day that he's not missing football at all.
So apparently McVay and Donald, I think they were together for the draft. They got together. It was like a draft party with some of the fans and whatnot, and Donald was there. And McVay kind of shimmied up next to Donald and whispered in his ear, like, "Hey, you want to give it a shot again?" And Donald shot it down immediately. He just, but I got to give McVay credit for trying.
This is not a super, but Tommy Huxley. Why am I getting married? Krug, talk me out of it. LOL. All I'll say about marriage, and I've been married for 25 years, is learn how to say I'm sorry. All right? Learn how to say I'm sorry. And Um, you know, the only other thing I would say is if you marry the right person, there is nothing better. If you marry the wrong person, there is nothing worse. And so I would say take lots and lots of time and make sure that you're marrying the right person for the right reasons and not
I
the
want to
wrong
add to
person
this,
for the wrong reasons.
Larry. I want to add to this. It's a great question. It probably doesn't come up enough on YouTube channels that are talking about NFL divisions, but I love that it's here for us today. You said "I'm sorry" is the key phrase. "I understand" is another good one. Okay, your wife or girlfriend is talking about something horrible that happened to her or whatnot, and you're kind of paying attention, but telling her "I understand" is incredibly comforting, and keep that up and remember that. And to your point about marrying the right person, this is my new advice to everyone. Your current relationship should fool you into thinking that it is the most chill and non-dramatic experience of your life. And if it does that, if your current relationship is in your mind free of stress altogether, then you can consider converting that relationship to marriage. If there is even one red flag or one item that keeps coming up and bothering you, immediately know that it cannot be a forever relationship, because you're signing up for a lifetime of that issue. Just trust both of us. Keep that in mind.
The other thing I would suggest, and it's only the only, I don't know if it's worked for me or not, but it's something my dad told me, and I kind of do believe in it. Pool your resources. Don't have your account and her account. Have your joint account. And you have to have total trust in the other person, but you're going to be way better off if you have your money together as opposed to my money and her money and this and that. You should try to because there is no ambiguity about this. You're in this together.
Oh, yeah.
And there's lots of relationships die because of stress. Lots of relationships die because of stress over money. A lot of times there's a lot of different thoughts on money, and everybody's got a different thought. So all I would say is don't have your own account, have her own account, pool your accounts, have total transparency. At least that will make somebody's going to run the money probably, and somebody's not. It will make the person who's not running the money feel better, knowing that there's total transparency and honesty, and as opposed to deceit and games. And I want to buy this. If you can't say to your wife, I love this and I want to spend money on this, and you guys can't have that conversation, you're probably not ready to be married.
That's so you sure.
If a purchase here or purchase there is going to unravel your entire relationship, your relationship is not tight enough. So that's all I would say is pool your money so you don't fight over money, because lots of people fight over money. And a lot of times I go out, now that I've got the channel, of course, we've got all these tax situations, so I got to keep track of everything. But it's a lot less stressful because I know that we're not going to fight over money. Because she knows how much money we have. I know how much money we have. We're all fully on board. We're only going to be able to go for another 15 minutes. We've only gotten through the NFC, so we're going to have to race. Do you want to rip through?
Let's do it.
AFC.
I would.
Let's do
it. Yeah. Let's do it. All right.
Let's jump into the AFC right here.
Let's go. All right.
So we got Houston as the favorite in this division, and I think most people have Houston winning this division.
Of course, be tough not to.
I'm going to go with the Colts.
Love it.
And here's the thing on this one. I'm a real believer in Chris Ballard. And I know lots of people are. It really has not happened for Chris Ballard. And
remind everyone, this is a guy. Remind everyone, Ballard and Andy Reid have a good history together too. Ballard was with Andy Reid as well. There was time that they spent together. He's a really beloved guy in NFL circles, Chris Ballard.
Yeah, I mean, I just think that, this is a projection because I don't know if I really believe this, but I kind of like some of the things that Indianapolis has got going on. Now, I'll say this. If I were the 49ers, I would trade for Anthony Richardson. Now, I know people would be like, "What? You just signed Brock Purdy." because look at what the Eagles are doing. The Eagles have Jalen Hurts and they have the tush push. And so it gives them another way that's not passing or running necessarily, to score on the goal line. And I do think it's nice to have that. And to me, Anthony Richardson is one of the most ridiculous prospects ever. He's 6'4", he's 245 pounds, he's super fast. We're talking about 4.4 speed. He's really, really raw as a quarterback. So much so that I don't even know that he is a quarterback. He might not be a quarterback. He might be a backup quarterback. But if you could have Anthony Richardson and have a special package for him in the red zone or on the goal line, I think that would help the 49ers quite a bit. I think that would give them another element that other teams don't have. If Richardson could be signed to a reasonable long-term contract to be your number 2 for the next 4 or 5 years, and he could really learn your system. I don't know that Mac Jones. I think this is a team that may be looking to trade Anthony Richardson. I could see an Anthony Richardson for Mac Jones, kind of a swap at some point, because the Colts are going to need quarterbacks that can play like right away. And Richardson isn't that guy. But I do think Richardson as the backup to Purdy, especially with the mobility of Purdy, then you get the mobility of Richardson. I'm a real believer that the NFL has gotten to a point where quarterbacks have to be able to be mobile. You can't just be a pocket passer. It won't work. Too many fast guys on defense. So I would try to get Anthony Richardson if I were the Niners. That aside, whether it's Anthony Richardson or Daniel Jones, running the ball with Jonathan Taylor, they drafted DJ Giddens, they had drafted Tyler Warren, gives them another red zone threat. They've got some sticky-handed receivers in Downs and Pittman and Pierce and Adonijah Mitchell, and they've got they've got the best guard in the game in Quentin Nelson. They've got some good pieces on defense. It's a little bit of a catching lightning in a bottle projection. But Ballard is too good of a GM to just lose and lose and lose and lose and lose forever. And I think the head coach there is pretty decent too. So give me the Colts somehow.
I don't want to waste any time with this.
And they got Lou Anarumo on defense as well.
Yep. I was hoping you were going to say that, the Jags and Trevor Lawrence were going to bounce back, because I wanted to be the guy out on a limb saying the Colts. The reason I'm going with the Colts, Larry, is this is one of those where you try to make the same bet a number of times, even though it doesn't work out, because you don't want to say in the year that it actually does happen that then you came off of that. So I keep saying Colts in this division. I believe in Steichen, obviously, who came from the Eagles, but I believe in Anthony Richardson. I'm just one of these people who can't unsee what Anthony Richardson's potential is and not say it's going to translate. That first game against the Texans last season, opened the season, he was every bit of what they wanted him to be. And of course, after that,
that throw was the best throw of the year. The deep ball that he led the guy. I mean, that was maybe the best deep ball of the year.
I'm with you on that. I'm with you on that. This guy, in so many ways, this guy is what Jamarcus Russell couldn't be. I mean, he's just so special, and I just want it to happen more than I think, or I've seen that it's going to happen. I just want it to happen. So for that alone, I'm just going to say Colts. We can go to the next division shortly here. I love Richardson, and I think they have a bit of a three-headed monster. What you said about Taylor, and I love what they do with Pittman, and I always like to say Baruch atah Adonai Mitchell. I think they're really building something special there in a core offensively if Richardson can just get it right. And all Daniel Jones needs to do is kind of push him and motivate him into knowing that job isn't going to be his, and maybe it will finally click. And only one more point to your Niners thing, which I didn't hear before today. I love that. The loss of Debo also. Richardson now becomes this sort of gadget part of the playbook that you can tie back into if you had a guy like Richardson, where you lose Debo, those gadget plays are out, and now maybe you can do that for Anthony Richardson. I like that. Yeah.
He's an amazing talent. He hasn't been utilized right. It's time for it. I don't think it's going to work there. I also, I forgot to mention, this team added in free agency Cam Bynum and Mooney Ward. And I think those two guys give their secondary a huge, huge step forward. So on the strength of that, and then Tyler Warren, I think, is a fantastic pick. I know anybody else who's going to pick the Colts is going to pick them because of Richardson. I'm going to pick him in spite of Richardson. I like Riley Leonard. I like Daniel Jones. I don't know what they're going to do. Maybe I'm not sure what they're going to do, but I'm not sure Richardson's the guy. But I like the Colts.
That's great. All right, so let's move on. Let's go to the next one here. All right, so this is going to be a tough one. All right, I think this is I know people are going to say, Sam, what about the Chiefs in the AFC West? I think this is the toughest division to find another winner. If you take the Bills, who are the favorite at -280, now look at the swing there. -280 for the Bills, plus 575 for the Dolphins as the next best team. This is the hardest one to say the Bills aren't going to win the AFC East. I think this is brutal when you look. I mean, just look at the quarterbacks that are behind me. You got the MVP and Josh Allen there with Buffalo. But our exercise today is take the favorite out of it. Who wins the division? So Bills are gone. Who do you see as this one, Larry?
Gosh, this is going to be tough.
This is brutal. I'll admit this is brutal. Although I like what I'm going to say, but this is brutal.
God, this is tough. This one's tough. There's just the Dolphins. I got to project all kinds of health on both sides of the ball, and there's just
growth. It is.
There's just a juggling of factors, and there's it's Tua, Zach Wilson, Quinn Ewers. I mean that's all together. But I mean, they also made some really great offseason moves. They picked up Jalen Conyers. That's a nice pickup. Andrew Armstrong. That's a nice pickup. Theo Wees. That's a nice pickup. They added a good offensive lineman and the kid from Arizona. Kenneth Grant, Jordan Phillips on their D line. That's going to help. I mean, they definitely. I could definitely. My first stop would be look at the Dolphins, but I'm going to make a super bold prediction.
Oh, don't steal it from me. Don't steal it from me. Go for it.
I'm going to make a super bold prediction on this one. I'm going to project a Josh Allen injury, and I'm going to go with the New England Patriots. The New England Patriots have gotten it wrong the last few years, but now you've got. I think they've got their next regime is now set. You got Elliott Wolf as the GM. You got Vrabel as the head coach. You got some continuity back in the building on offense with McDaniels. Okay, so offensively, I think you've got a good quarterback, and now you supported your good quarterback. You added Will Campbell. You added Jared Wilson. You added Garrett Bradbury. You added Morgan Moses. I mean, they added a lot on their offensive line. You've got Josh Dobbs as the backup quarterback. I think that makes sense. He's a good backup quarterback. You added Travion Henderson behind Ramondre Stevenson. They also made some real sleeper pickups. Stephon Diggs and Matt Collins added to Demario Douglas helps their receiving core dramatically. The guy who's been the talk of camp so far has been Kyle Williams from Wazoo, and they love Kyle Williams. Efton Chisholm, the third from Eastern Washington, was a really, really nice addition. So was Lan Larison from UC Davis. So offensively, I think they're coming. Defensively, they added quite a bit. Carlton Davis, Robert Spillane, Harold Landry, Milton Williams from your Eagles. And then they drafted Craig Woodson from Cal. They drafted Josh Farmer from Florida State. They got Braden Swinson from LSU. Elijah Ponder from Cal Poly is a good edge rusher. They got him after the draft. I like the Patriots, man. I think the Patriots, Christian Gonzalez the other day was saying that, who was he talking up? He was talking up Kyle Williams.
Yep.
Yeah, he was talking up Kyle Williams the other day. And I like this secondary. Jabril Peppers, Christian Gonzalez, Marcus Jones, Kyle Duggar. You added Carlton Davis, Marcus Epps, Craig Woodson to that. I think the Patriots with Drake May are dramatically improved. I think Henderson's going to be a phenomenal. I think Henderson's going to be the offensive rookie of the year. Give me the Patriots.
I like it. I'm going Patriots too. We don't even have to spend that much time on it. What I love is don't just say Drake May, remember Vrabel. And New England's not used to, you're not used to seeing New England, but as far as free agency, before the draft, the team that won free agency without question was New England. New England did so much, especially if you consider Vrabel as part of that package. This team is completely made over, and I think May did more than we thought. I mean, they even got a little out of Milton and obviously traded him to Dallas, but this team is completely different. This is no longer. I mean, obviously the Belichick piece is gone. Last year was just. It was just a weird. It really was a bizarre year. I hate when coaches are one and done. By the way, I think that's bizarre. But having a chance to get Vrabel, who they wanted, it makes sense. But Gerard Mayo,
And
sort of a raw deal.
And some of the greatness of their organization, now that Brady's gone, Belichick's gone, all the drama's gone, they can get back to just back to being a football team, and I think that's going to benefit them. So I like New England.
I'm with you on New England, and I just can't. There's no part of me that's going to say Tua, and I can't sustain Tua over an entire season. I'm not. I'm just not doing it.
Dolphins are more talented. Are more talented.
Yes.
But the Dolphins, no. Give me New England.
I'm not.
There's two good organizations in this division.
Yes,
it's Buffalo and New England.
I'm so with you on that. All right, so we'll get out of here pretty soon, but this one is brutal, by the way. I mean, the North is so hard. So take the Ravens out of it because they're minus 140. They're the favorite. I think it's pretty odd staring at us what to do here, but, do you what do you see here for Cincinnati winning this division?
Well,
unless you're going to talk yourself into Aaron Rodgers, which I'd love if you want to go down that path. Plus 525 for the Steelers, who don't even have Rodgers right now and may not.
Steelers are going to be Steelers are Mike Tomlin's. The run's coming to an end.
Really, this is 8-9. This is the first losing season.
They're going to lose. They're going to have. Have you seen their schedule?
Yeah, it's in fact.
The Steelers have the worst schedule.
Yes.
And let me see if I can call that schedule up and I can take.
Yeah, if you want the Steelers schedule, I think I got it here for you. There you go.
It's bad. Yeah, it's really bad. And if you look at the rest, they have the least rest of anybody. Mm-hmm. So they got a bad schedule.
Yeah. Steelers have a brutal one. I see. I don't know. I love.
I mean, it's hard
Cincinnati.
to say exactly how the schedule is going to go.
But I love Cincinnati.
I like Cincinnati to be the team in the division. I mean, Higgins, Chase, the offensive line I think is going to be. And Amarius Mims was a good first round pick, but it just took him a year to get ready, so he'll be better. They added Dylan Fairchild and Jalen Rivers. A couple more good offensive linemen. So I think Cincinnati's got potential to have a pretty good offensive line. They got a good backup quarterback they can win with in Jake Browning. I love Taj Brooks, the running back that they got in the 6th round out of Texas Tech. I think that's a steal. I think Taj Brooks is definitely going to be a factor for them.
Yeah, and losing Mixon, I mean, the Mixon thing hurt them a little bit last season. They also got injured. I mean, they did well in running the ball, but it was not exactly an easy fix without Mixon.
I don't feel great about Cincinnati because Trey Hendrickson I think is going to get traded. Jermaine Pratt could not wind up being there, and that's two good players off their front seven. But I think they're really underrated on defense. I mean, Cam Taylor-Britt I think is a terrific corner.
Oh yeah,
Geno Stone, the former Ravens, really good. Jordan Battle's a big defensive back, former Utah player. DJ Turner runs in the 4-3s. I mean, they have some guys there. But if they lose Hendrickson and Pratt, they did draft Demetrius Knight and Barrett Carter. Those guys are going to help. They got Oren Burks from Philly. That should help. I'll go Philadelphia. I'll go Cincinnati. But I don't feel great about it. But Pittsburgh's going to be sunk by their schedule, and you can't be like, oh, you know what, I'm going to come in at the last second to be the quarterback. It's a year-round thing.
Yeah.
So that's going to burn them. So take away the Browns, take away the Ravens, take away the Steelers, and you have the
I think it is.
I'll just go Bengals. I think the Bengals will somehow Burrow will be healthy, and somehow Shamar Stewart is going to have to play up front, especially if Hendrickson isn't there. But I think somehow they wind up moving Hendrickson and still edging out. I think the Ravens, to be honest, are going to win the division. But if I have to go with somebody else, I'd go with Cincinnati.
I like the Bengals, and I'm just going to say they got swept by the Ravens in two brutal head-to-head, down-to-the-wire games, and that's not going to happen again. If they split, I think the Bengals can win this division. I love Joe Burrow, and they were the best passing team last season. Somehow missed the playoffs. I like them. Let's finish with the one that's just very difficult. Chiefs minus 135. Chargers and Broncos are pretty close there in the second, and obviously Raiders at plus 1,400. But if the Chiefs don't win the AFC West, Larry, who wins this division? Take the Chiefs out of it, which I think you can now. I mean, again, 40-22 is burned in our mind right now. Everyone's not loving the Chiefs the way they were. Can you see another path here for another team, if not the Chiefs?
Well, I mean, Jim Harbaugh. It's Jim Harbaugh is going to win. It's just a matter of how long does it take. So I'm gonna go Jim Harbaugh. I mean, look what they added. I mean, at receiver, they had Lad McConkey, but they added Trey Harris, Mike Williams they brought back. They're probably going to trade Quentin Johnston, but they also got Keandre Lambert-Smith, and that's kind of, I kind of like what they did at receiver. And then offensive line, they added Mekhi Becton, and they drafted Amarion Hampton, running back, and he should start, but they also signed Najee Harris. You have Trey Lance, by the way, backing up. They also got Aronde Gadsden from Syracuse at tight end. He's going to be fantastic. So I really like the Chargers offensively. They're going to run the ball. They, Alt and Mekhi Becton now on the right side of that line. Oh, my God. Rashawn Slater and Joe Alt are their tackles. They got blue-chip tackles. They got terrific receivers. They got great running backs. Herbert's got tremendous talent. So I'd say the Chargers. And then defensively, I don't love what the Chargers did defensively. I mean, they added Jamare Caldwell. Not a huge fan. Kyle Kennard I really like. He was the SEC Defensive Player of the Year. They also got Dante Jackson, Benjamin Kajust in the secondary. So, I mean, it's I don't love them, but I'm going to go with slight Chargers over Broncos, just because I think, even though I like the Broncos and what they got going, it's a lot more volatile. It's a little bit more of a projection. I think Bo Nix could have some bumps in the road. He had a kind of a smooth rookie year. I'll take the Chargers. I think the Chargers are better than Denver.
I'm going to take Chargers, and here's why. Herbert, we all know that game in Houston didn't go well, obviously, with the interceptions in that game. Herbert was brutal, and he's been brutal in the postseason, really. But this is about the regular season and winning the division. If they can split with KC, can you split with KC? I see the Chargers. They can do this. We both like the Chargers there, and we did it, Larry. We got through everybody. I think the Chargers, I think their schedule also, if you look at the Chargers' schedule, there's a nice path there to them winning this division. Well, Larry, you muted. I think I muted you there.
I was just going to say, I really do like the Raiders. I think the Raiders are going to be the Raiders have turned the corner. And the Raiders are now in the league with everybody else. They were out of the league in a special area.
No, the Geno thing's huge.
Geno's going to help them. Genty's going to help them. Sincere McCormick's going to help them. Bowers is going to continue to get better. I don't know what they're going to do. As far as trades, but I think Jack Betch and Dante Thornton, Jacoby Myers, Zachary Franklin. I mean, I liked what they did at receiver. And then on defense, they're still not there yet. But Tonka Hemingway and JJ Pegues, those are nice ads up front. Cody Lindenberg, Devin White, Landon Roberts. They added quite a lot at linebacker. Then Mello Dotson, Jeremy Chin, Eric Stokes, Darian Porter. I mean, they added quite a few players. So I like the Raiders. I think they'll still be bad on defense, but they're really coming on offense. And I think the Raiders are more like an 8-8 type team. The Raiders are probably more of a next year play. But I think this division has grown up around Kansas City, and it's going to drag Kansas City down because Denver and Chargers and the Raiders are all, because of how good Kansas City is. I think those teams have been forced to step up their game, and they have. And they're not there yet, but the Chargers are almost there yet, and I bet the Chargers take down Kansas City this year.
I love it. I love it, Larry. We did it. We got them.
We did it. We did it. We did it. We did it. We got through all the entire league. All right, that's going to do it for us. I need to jet. Sammy's got to roll. Appreciate all you guys. Have a great rest of your day. Have a great rest of your Monday. A happy Memorial Day for those who are celebrating the memories of the past. And for Sammy, I'm Larry. Have a great day, everybody. Peace.
Love it.
Yeah, never met a man I've been scared of.